What happened?
The audio wasn't on the live stream, but it's fine.
But the
Nobody's watching it right now. It's way too late.
But the recording is good.
Yeah, the recording is good.
Audio?
Yeah. It's fine. I could input the audio on YouTube afterwards, so yeah, I'll be fine.
As long as my audio is good, I couldn't care less. But.
Yeah, I know. No, but what I was going to say, so MLK just he always seemed like a Christ-like figure for the secular world, and part of it was I think they need one. They need like a savior for themselves. But what really bothered me as a kid was nobody could answer to me what he actually did. Like I kept asking the teacher. She was like, "Well, he wrote this speech, this I Got a Dream speech or whatever." It's like, okay, yeah, but what did he do? Did he like legislate law? Was he, I was a kid, so I didn't know. I was like, was he president? Was he what? What did he do? And they could never give me an answer of anything that he actually did. Like, there's nothing that he himself ever actually did. He gave a speech, a really bad speech, really. Is when you really do listen to the speech, it's kind of a stupid speech. He's not saying anything. He's talking about, what he dreams. Okay. But what are you going to do about it? Like, you're not saying that you're doing anything. You're just saying that you hope and you dream that people come together. Okay, great. I'm glad that you had that fucking dream. But you're not giving me anything. I also got in trouble in college for this in undergrad. I was in it was like an honors literature course, and I had to analyze a speech. And I said the same thing. I was like, on a rational level, it's a pretty bad speech. He doesn't give you much information. It's purely emotional appeal.
Yeah.
And the emotions that he's appealing to are just kind of shitty. Like, I personally don't care. I couldn't care less of what he's trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And so it's I never understood the appeal of Martin Luther King. I think he is just somebody that they grabbed onto. He gave a speech that people felt emotional about. It was a pretty shitty one at that. He marched with a bunch of Negroes in Selma, which was funded by large corporations anyways. He himself was nothing. The only thing that we know about him really that he did is that he was a serial rapist. and that he got shot like a dumbass and died before he accomplished anything. That's all that he is. He is nothing. He's pathetic. He's a loser.
I think he's like aesthetically upsetting. He looks kind of doughy. And
he does, yeah. He looks doughy, but he's also just a loser.
But that's what to me.
Yeah,
people are losers on an aesthetic.
Yes, yeah. He's like, why would anyone want to emulate that? You say a speech, you accomplish nothing, and then you get shot. That's your Christ figure. That's so, and being a serial rapist, I'm sorry. He has a lot in common with George Floyd. He's a gross human being, and he died for no real reason.
Why don't we celebrate George Floyd's birthday?
Exactly, we might eventually. Yes. I just, the obsession that they have with Martin Luther King it's upsetting. And I have no reverence for him at all. I could not care less if I never hear about him again. If I never have to hear that stupid speech, his stupid
I've
fucking
never even
dream.
heard the speech.
It's bad.
It's like,
yeah.
I know he kind of has like a goat cadence a little bit.
Yeah. Like was it a Southern preacher? Since he was like he was a minister. Yeah, Lutheran. Right? I think he was a Lutheran minister.
Yeah, his last name is Luther.
I know. Yeah.
Do you think that's part of why you hate him? Do you think you have some baggage?
I don't know.
Okay.
But part of it, I think a large part of it is because teachers could not tell me what did he accomplish. Like, why should I care about him? They kept pushing him. It's to say the other part I got in trouble with was the two books. It was Lorax and Charlotte's Web. I kept thinking, like, why the fuck are you pushing this on me?
The Lorax by Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Like what? He says he likes trees.
Yes. I just don't. I mean,
he's the guy of the trees.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand why this is like this great book that we have to fucking just keep talking about. The same with Charlotte's Web. Ooh, I'm gonna. What's it? Oh,
Did he burp?
No, I think he said something. Maybe I feel you. It's like it's the same thing. It's like then they read this book in library class, and then they make you watch the fucking cartoon. And it's like, I'm done. I don't care. I don't care about the stupid spider. I don't care about the fat little pig. I don't care about anything about this. Why does this matter? And with MLK was the same thing. It was like you're pushing him so hard on me that it makes me suspicious about what your intentions are. Because obviously he's a loser.
That's me with Amelia Earhart.
Same thing with Amelia Earhart. Yeah, I agree with you that one.
What was it? What was that episode? Is Amelia Earhart famous for failing?
Yes, yes.
Wow, she didn't do it.
She just proved to everybody that women can fly. You don't want a female pilot because you're gonna crash.
Wait, you mean a bunch of men had done this already, and she was the first one to do it and disappeared,
and she failed? Okay.
Okay.
Good job. But yeah, like the celebration of these losers is just, it's really upsetting. And nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to talk about how horrible of a human being Martin Luther King Jr. was, how much of a loser he was, how he accomplished nothing. And we should not celebrate anything about him precisely because he lost.
But you want to know who accomplished many
things? Who accomplished things? Yes. The reason why
who was it, Jeremy?
Adolf Hitler. so part of the reason why I put these two together, because at that same age, I remember learning about Hitler, and I could not really buy the story, the narrative that he just hated Jews so much that he just wanted to gather them all up and put them in a gas chamber.
What, he conquered Europe because
yes.
he hated Jewish people?
It was like that doesn't make any sense.
He attempted to conquer all of Europe?
Yes.
To build concentration camps
just so he could kill fucking Jews. It's like, no, there has to be something else to this story that they don't want to present. And they kept presenting him as the most evil motherfucker that's ever existed. It's like, it's just not true. I mean, how many people did he himself actually fucking kill? Not that many.
No.
How many did he actually order to kill? Not that many. No. In the end of the day, so he becomes a boogeyman. He becomes a symbol.
You're talking about because Himmler did.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Hitler himself,
Goebbels and Himmler.
Goebbels and him, yes, those guys did. Yeah. But look through every historical documents. I cannot find one which actually shows the order of Hitler saying, "I want these people gassed." Yeah. There isn't one. Just give me one. That's all I ask people. Just show me a document somewhere where he's like, "Now you must burn the Jews. I want them to burn and suffer. I want them." No. He doesn't talk about that. He talks about how they're subhuman. He talks about to keep the race pure. And in fact, he doesn't just say that the Aryan race has to be pure. He wanted the European races to be pure in their own purity. Like the Spanish should remain Spanish. It shouldn't incorporate these other races. That the Italian should remain Italian, and that the Aryans should remain Aryan. This is what his ideology was. It wasn't specifically that every other race is subhuman. The reason why the Jews were subhuman to him is because they had no home. They weren't like Germany, who had an established home.
Just homeless.
They're homeless losers. People. That's what he looked at them. They're homeless losers who just are like parasites that go into different cultures, and then they build the banks and the jewelry stores, but they don't really have a culture in themselves. They incorporate different aspects of it.
Do you know that's why Jews do so well in the U.S.?
Yes, yeah. Because they really don't.
Also a cultureless and homeless people.
Yes, yeah, and I would agree with that. And so he viewed them as subhuman because of that. They lacked the Aryan race because most of Europe is divided by race.
Yeah, of course.
It's like you have the Spanish race, you have the Aryan people, you have the Anglo people, you have all these people who
Scandinavian people.
Yes, and so their country was associated with the race of people that founded those nations. And so there was, this homogeny within there that he wanted to maintain. He wanted the Italians to remain Italian. He didn't, he didn't want to take them over so that makes everybody Aryan. He didn't like mixtures of races. He didn't want the Germans to be fucking the wops. He wanted the Italians to remain Italian. He wanted to take over Europe in order to keep everybody at place. where people are their own race, their own nation, and cut out the Jews and cut out the anybody else that's kind of infiltrating the cultures and manipulating it for his own thing. I think he felt the same way even about the Africans. He wanted the Africans just to fucking stay in Africa. Stay there. You're your people. You're not European. Quit coming over here. This is what his idea was. It wasn't that he specifically thought that every other race was subhuman. He thought that races that had no home and that were losers and that got mixed up with the Khazars and so on and so forth, that they were subhuman because they did not have any reality. There's nothing there to really have. And so, he enslaved them. And I think his main goal, when you read a lot of his speeches, like the famous Reichstag speech and whatever, when you read a lot of what he actually says, he's mostly focused on the embarrassment of Germany from World War I. And that he wanted to raise again the greatness of what the German people were and what can do.
Which is funny because they never really were great. But
I know, but in his mind, you know, that's where he wanted to elevate.
Because Germany was one of the late modernizers.
Right, yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were way behind. I mean, it was what? Germany, Italy, Russia, and Japan. Were the last major powers to kind of reach quote unquote modernity as we know it. They were the last to industrialize. So
yes.
Germany was never.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
Germany was not. They was like a smattering of hundreds of principalities that all happen to speak similar languages.
Yeah.
There was no Germany.
Yeah. But I think that's why he found it so important to keep the Aryan people together.
Yeah.
It's because he didn't want it to be that way. He didn't want it to be so.
Like France was France for hundreds of years.
Yes, France.
Spain was Spain.
Exactly.
It was kind of Aragon and other stuff, but
I know.
Spain was largely unified. England was largely unified. Germany, if you look at a map of Europe in like 1850, Germany's a bunch of little tiny micro states and city states while everybody else has their shit figured out.
Yeah. Yes. No, yeah. And I'm not saying that he was accurate in what his depiction was, but overall his goal, like those goals make sense in terms of the human nature. And then to enslave people, because a lot of people tend to forget that Ford, like he bought the engines for the tanks from Ford. It wasn't as if he didn't make deals with other countries. So Ford supplied him with the materials to make the engines. He needed labor. He had slave labor because he kicked all the Jews out of their homes. He put them in a concentration camp, and he forced the Jews to basically make the tanks and to assemble the tanks because they got the parts from the U.S. and other parts for the other aspects of the tank, but got the engines from the U.S. and to really assemble them and to make them a superpower. And then when they would just die out of starvation, he just wouldn't bury them. Either burn their bodies and put them in a big old pile of just dead Jew bodies, and that's really, see, that makes sense because there are other instances in history where that has happened.
Well, all throughout the 20th century.
And yes,
they just the in the Soviet Union and China and stuff.
Yes, the same thing.
But that was more of a class thing than a race thing.
It was, yes, yeah.
But there was still a group of people singled out and enslaved.
Exactly, yeah. And so when you see who were actually putting these things together, they were the Jews, and he was using them for slave labor. And I think what ended up happening was, especially towards the end of the war, there was too many of them still alive. I think Himmler and Goebbels just, because they were running the camps, not fucking Hitler. Hitler was concerned with other shit. Yeah. And I think they just thought it would be easier just to kill them. So many of them were shot, like they would just line them up and shoot them. And then many of them were gassed. But it was just like a quality of slave labor. It was a quality of dehumanizing these people. But it was
which you're not saying is good.
I'm not saying it's good. No.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like this, mystery man who just hated the Jews so bad that he just wanted to gather them all up and just shoot them.
That's something I find reactionary discussion of the Holocaust very annoying.
Yeah.
That, there's a lot of people very concerned with debating the number of people who died.
Right.
I think that's asinine.
Yeah, I don't care about that part.
Millions of people died.
Yeah, of course, yes.
It doesn't matter. It fundamentally does not matter if it's because they were exterminated due to their race. purely, or if because they were enslaved and then discarded, or whatever reason you think they were in the camps. The camps existed and millions of people died.
Yes.
Whether it's a million or 6 million or 800,000 or whatever, it doesn't matter. The number does not matter at all.
Yes, yeah. I think the ideology is what matters. And I think when the ideology doesn't make sense, we try to make a devil out of a man.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have done with Hitler.
Yes.
Is that it's the same way that MLK is a Christ-like figure. Hitler has become the Satan figure. And so it's like we constructed this
even
weird
though
religion.
There are many worse figures
exactly.
of the 20th century
and
than
that's,
Hitler.
Yes. And that's what my point is.
Like, why is Pol Pot not a Satan Satan figure of the 20th century?
Yeah. And it's because they constructed a false narrative that isn't real history. It isn't real history that he just hated the Jews so much that he wanted to gas them all. Nobody even knows whether he knew that they were gassed or not. Like that's really the reality. Nobody knows whether he knew that was happening. Yeah. The only thing that we know is that he wanted to glorify Germany. He wanted to enslave a group of people. He did that part and he commanded all of that. But how they were treated in the camps, he was not a guard in the camp. Nobody knows whether he had ever been to fucking Auschwitz.
Yeah.
We just don't know, because there's no record of that ever happening, that he was just walking around and be like, oh, I just want you to kill these guys now. Gas them, please. It's like, no, that's not something that happened.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's just a silly kind of overall presentation in order to make a devil out of him. And it's weird because it's like the secular world needed that, because it's a religion in itself. They needed these figures so they could eliminate the Christian figures, so they could eliminate Christ, so they could eliminate the Trinity. So go back to the AI thing. It was like, well, if we could eliminate the idea of a tripartite soul, we could just reduce everything down to matter and computation. Now we eliminated that. And so it eliminates the transcendentals, the true, the good, the beautiful. And then you could eliminate Christ by replacing him with a fucking rapist. And then you could eliminate the existence of the devil by pointing towards Hitler. And so now you've almost replaced all of these main figures, all of these fundamental ideologies of the West, for us just to pay attention to this nonsense. But when you look at it, I was like, Hitler should not be really spoken of that much in the end of the day. He just really shouldn't be.
Stalin killed way more people and was way more aware of
we actually know that. Historically speaking, we know that he was more aware of that shit.
By a lot. He orchestrated a lot of it.
Yes.
Because he was actually ideologically possessed.
Yes, exactly. And to make...
Like, why do I never hear Saddam Hussein's name anymore?
Yeah. Because he's dead and he's irrelevant now.
But as far as like horrible figures of the 20th century, like Saddam Hussein was way worse than Hitler.
I know. Yes. Yeah.
By a lot. Mao was worse than Hitler.
Yes, exactly. And so it's upsetting. And these topics when I was younger was always the ones that got me in trouble, because they wouldn't call me the name, but basically they were thinking that I'm like a Nazi sympathizer. I'm not a Nazi sympathizer. It's simply that I don't believe in the story that is being told to me about it. I didn't live in those time periods. There's no way for me to travel back in time and see it. But the one thing that I can do is, if a story that you're telling me is contrary to the basic functions of human nature, I'm not going to believe it. I can't believe it because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. That's not how human beings function. Human beings function for different reasons, for glory. They function for pussy. They function for, taking over something, for power, for all this stuff. They don't function just because they hate despicable Jews. Yeah. That's not something that they do. Even if you go back to what you were saying with Stalin, it was like he truly believed in the revolution. Yeah, that's what moved him. He truly believed that he could create a better world, or at least be part of the creation of a better world, to eliminate the capitalism and institute this new thing. So you have to kill people in order to make
maintain this new thing. Or
yes, or maintain it. Yeah, Yeah, I'm sorry, to maintain.
Mao was the same way.
Yeah, Mao's the same way. Like all these, you see, those explanations make sense, but they always want to single out Hitler as a unique individual who was just a racist, this anti-Semite, and he just wanted to kill.
Because class
Jews.
warfare is real.
Yes, of course.
The rich against the poor is real.
Yes.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Racism's not a real thing.
No, it isn't. Anti-Semitism is not a real thing.
No.
It just isn't.
You'll be irritated at a certain ethnicity holding,
of course,
positions of power in certain industries.
Yes,
disproportionately.
Mm-hmm. But you're annoyed at
no
the
one
power.
Wants to just kill them because they're
Jews,
whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, regardless.
Yeah,
Indians or
And that's why I make so many jokes about it. That's why even kids, when I make the jokes, they always wonder. It's like, why do people hate the Jews so much?
And no one hates.
It's because nobody does.
No one hates the Jews because they're Jews.
They want to make you think that this is a reality. The news and all that, they want to make you think that there's just people out there that just hate Jews. I
think the problem, that's been created by that phenomenon of inventing racism as a problem.
Yeah.
Is that like libs and progressives and stuff are the only people that actually care.
Yeah.
And because quote unquote conservatives and the quote unquote right wing, especially in the US, is only capable of reacting to stuff.
Yeah.
They become actually racist and hate people for their race because they're reacting.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what happens.
It's like when I hear like normal right wing people actually hate black people for being black.
Yeah.
Like, what is your IQ? Like 70?
Yeah.
Like, that's not the problem. You hate them for all the annoying things they might do.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't hate them for their race.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I really do think that that's what it is in the end. I don't think it wasn't purely that he just hated the Jews. I think he didn't like what they were doing to Germany. I don't think he liked that there were homeless people just taking over the country. And he wanted the races, the races in their respective areas to remain pure, so Europe remains Europe.
Because he liked Mussolini.
I know, that's what I mean.
He liked Franco.
Yes.
He liked all these people.
He liked them, yes. He just wanted the Italians to stay Italian. It's like, yeah, you're fucking Italian.
He wouldn't
stay
just
Italian.
ally with Spain.
I know.
Well, I think Spain was doing the Civil War shit, but like...
Yeah. But
he wouldn't be friendly with other countries.
Yes. If he thought that they all were just Untermenschen, they all were just subhuman. If he was
actually ideologically possessed.
He wasn't, yeah. The Jews he viewed as a nuisance in his country, and he just viewed them as a nuisance.
But he respected the Japanese.
Exactly.
For their, even now, eternal ethnic homogeneity.
Yes, because that's what he wanted. He wanted
it's like
ethnic
Japan's
homogeny.
still like 98.9% Japanese.
Yes, yeah.
That's Hitler's dream.
I know.
He doesn't want to participate in their thing.
Yep. And you know what's funny? It's the group of people that believes in homogeneity the most are the Jews.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, like if
you can't marry outside.
Yeah, you can't marry outside. And so it's like, yes.
You can no longer be religiously Jewish if
I know.
You marry outside.
Yeah. I always found that pretty ironic. But but yeah, I mean, and then in the end, when you ask the question, is he wrong with that? I don't know. I think there's some wisdom in there. I think there is some wisdom in the Jewish teaching.
I don't care.
Yes, but I do see that when you do begin to.
Yeah, why do Jews get to be ethnically homogenous?
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
fine, but
I do think that there creates more harmony. You know, like when people talk about the Scandinavian countries being so great, a lot of it is just because they are homogenous people.
I know, obviously.
Yes, you live more
like, you
peacefully.
know what they don't have in Norway?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyone who isn't Norwegian.
Yes. And so, I mean, in that sense,
there's also like 5 million of them.
I know. But that's the thing is that when you ask the question, was Hitler wrong in those principles? I mean, I think the proof is what you see in homogenous countries. Homogenous countries tend to be more peaceful.
Why do you think African countries are so shitty?
Yes.
Because they have 11 national languages.
Yes. It was that recent thing that what's his name, Matt Walsh got himself in trouble for. Which country was that? Thailand or?
I have no memory. I don't know.
Oh, it's just really recent. There's like somebody posted a where do they cane people?
Oh, Singapore.
Singapore.
He was talking about He was talking about how they like execute drug dealers.
Yes, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want that.
Yes. And so you go to Singapore. Singapore is a very homogenous country, and
no, they're not, but they're very strict.
I think they're pretty homogenous in a lot of the regions. Yeah.
No, there's Hindu quarters, there's Mandarin quarters,
there's
Malay quarters.
But don't they separate each other?
Yes, yeah, that's true. That's
true.
Yeah. The country itself has many sectors, but
right. But they separate, yes. And so they live with their
and they also
with their relative
execute drug dealers.
Yes, and then they have harsh laws. And I really do think that's you have your world functions differently, if not more harmonious, when you live with people like yourself.
Of course.
And I think that's really what the principle is. And I don't really think necessarily that is a bad principle. No. Now, does that mean he should have ejected
I think it's demonstrably true.
It is, yes. And so nobody really wants to talk about those things. I'm saying, I think those are worth talking about. I mean, he wasn't just a lunatic who wanted to kill Jews. I think he was somebody who recognized the virtues of living homogeneously. Yeah. Rather than living in this global world in which everybody just goes wherever they want to go, which I think creates more crime, more destruction, and more unhappiness with people. It's like
of course, that is not to say that enslaving swaths of people and summarily executing the leftovers is an ontological good.
Of course not. Yes, yeah.
It's not just, it's not to insinuate that what happened in Germany was a good thing.
Yeah. But I think some of the principles are worth talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's beneficial to just demonize him as a human devil.
Yeah.
I think he's just a power-hungry person who...
He was kind of a weak personality.
Yeah, I mean, he was insecure. You could tell the insecurities. But I mean, he accomplished more than what MLK did.
Of course.
So it's like, who's weaker? Okay, yes. So,
of course.
I mean, was he like this weird, insecure, probably gay guy? Yeah, probably. But still, he overcame
most
that.
Most great men of history were not necessarily interested in women.
Yes, yeah. But I still think he accomplished many things. I think he overcame many of his insecurities. Yeah. And I think because of that, I wouldn't necessarily call him weak. I think he had propensity to be weak, but in the end, he showed...
In many ways.
Yeah.
Just as everyone does.
Yes, but I think he showed his strength, and he showed his strength in what he did and what he was able to accomplish and really change the world. Yeah. And he did in the end, because we're so reactionary is that everything that we reacted to is him.
Yeah.
And he became that figure for us to like construct this globalization.
Well, he's like the anti-neoliberal.
Mm-hmm. Which for them is the devil. Yeah. And so it's I don't know, like I don't view him as the most evil person in history.
Of course not.
I don't see it. I don't think he just killed Jews
Mao killed people to kill people.
Yes, yeah.
Kim Il-sung killed people to kill people.
Yeah, Nero, they say, was much more vicious as well.
Of course.
Yeah. There's other figures in history that I think were much more vicious.
You know what I think is that the Nazis were the most aesthetically striking.
Yes. Because the
fascists and the Nazis were the most aesthetically inclined.
Beautiful.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that they would require more ire.
Because of that,
the Soviets. I think the Soviets had some interesting aesthetic proclivities, but
right.
Obviously, fascist Italy was beautiful. I guess.
Yeah.
In a fascist way.
Yes.
And then were they anti-church?
Who? The Soviet?
Fascists. Mussolini.
Yeah, he was.
Mussolini was?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. Because I know that he had a relationship with one of the popes or something. Or I don't remember exactly.
I think because of the same way with the Nazi party, there were many bishops who were pro-Nazi and there were many bishops who were
fascist party.
Yeah.
In that they can have their own personal opinions and talk about them as much as they want.
But like Hitler was fundamentally
Catholic.
Yeah. And I think
because he viewed Catholicism as incompatible with the German.
Yes, yeah.
Which I think is actually true.
Yeah.
I don't think that any other country on earth would have a Luther in it.
Right.
I don't think.
I agree.
Luther was necessarily German.
Yes, yeah.
And by extension, Scandinavian countries would follow suit.
Yeah.
They're the same kind of people.
Right. Yeah. I think it was just a time in history with a lot of revolutions. I think people wanted to change the world, and he was one of them. And I don't think he needs to be singled out. I think every single person had their own unique qualities in which they function in for the revolutions. But just the whole story, I've always found very lacking. Teachers got upset with me when I kept asking more and more questions. I remember that.
The MLK.
MLK and also Hitler, because he was another person I got in trouble in grade school for too. Just because it doesn't make sense. And even with my kids, I remember whenever they hear it, they're like, "Yeah, why do people hate Jews so bad?" In the end of the day, just because it just doesn't make sense. It's because nobody really does, and nobody ever did. I don't think that ever was a reality. I think they were a group of people that was easy for him to subjugate and enslave. And part of the reason why they were so easy to enslave is because they had no home. It isn't as if
they had nothing to defend.
Yeah, it isn't like you're going to enslave the Italian people. It's like they have.
Well, that's why gypsies and retards.
Exactly.
Were the other groups of people.
The other group of people that he put in concentration camps.
Yeah.
He put the gypsies in there too because they had no home.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't like. That's the quality that he found weak about.
They had no reason to exist in his mind.
Yes. Yeah. So he's cleansing Europe of all the bullshit. That's what we looked at. Take the gypsies out, take the retards out, take the fat people out, take the Jews out.
Yeah.
Because he killed fat people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he demanded that the German people be fit.
Yeah. I would not say that the proper response to seeing a fat guy is to just gas him.
No, I understand.
No. I feel like some people need to clarify. Because I think when anyone talks about it, there's a lot of
cringe, like,
no, Hitler? Well, because it's like, oh, okay, he's talking about Hitler in any way that isn't like vilifying 100% because he hates Jews. It's like, well, no, we don't hate Jews. I don't care that Jews exist. That's different. I don't care at all.
One of my good friends is from fucking Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
You know, his name is Barak Spicer. All right. This guy's Jew of Jews.
But I also don't care that Israel exists or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Of course, yeah.
I don't care how much money the U.S. sends to Israel. I don't care.
Me either, yeah.
Like, why do I hear any discussion of how much money the U.S. is sending to Israel when we're like transing children? I'm like, I don't care about that.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree.
Like, the Jews would be proud of people who are discussing the finances. Like, I don't care. You're more Jewish than me talking about it at all. Like, I don't care. Whatever.
The proper way to invest your money. Yeah.
Can I ask on GarageBand how long we've been going?
Sure.
Not that I'm done. I'm just asking. I have no way of looking at the time. Does it tell you?
No, it doesn't tell me time. It tells me how many beats and shit.
Oh, never mind.
The bar is in 2,325.3.
2,325 at 120 BPM.
Yeah.
So that's how many? So 2,320. Okay. 2,300.
No, it's 2,333.
33 bars. So divided by 4. How many minutes is that? So divide 583.25. 583.25 divided by 120. Whoa. 2,333 divided by, so that's bars.
Yeah.
Divided by, no, 2,333 times 4. That's how many beats. 9,332 beats divided by 120. 77 minutes, so an hour and 17 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm trying to think if there's another kind of one more topic we can hit on before we end.
Yeah.
I was thinking, who was I talking to? I was either talking to somebody or listening to somebody. Maybe my mom. I think that, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but any form of Christianity, any form of heretical Christianity that doesn't venerate Mary, obviously erases the divine feminine.
Yeah.
And that there's no divine, like ultimately divine figure that is feminine or embodies the feminine in any way.
Yes. Yeah.
Like somehow God is supposed to also encapsulate the feminine.
Yeah.
Because you know that like God is a woman. It's like you wouldn't have to say that if you had Mary around. But
right.
I think it also really stunts men's ability to engage the feminine experience or to value it in any way.
Yeah.
I think there's obviously a flip side. There's a flip side to every theological issue as far as experience goes. And I think that, you erase the divine feminine. So now women have no divine, like what, Eve?
Right. Yes.
It's like all women are Eve. Yeah, if you erase Mary, Eve was created.
Yes,
so like there has been no new Eve there,
Yeah.
So like, if you don't have Mary, I guess you could be justified in assuming that all women are just fundamentally Eve and deceptive and evil and,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's no feminine figure for them to.
There's no redeeming feminine figure.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also think that it also, men don't have an idea of femininity to engage. So I think it also impairs men's ability to understand the feminine.
Yeah.
In its proper form.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just been thinking about that a lot. Because I think one of the things about, and I know that, I don't want to go too far into this. I guess it can be kind of a teaser. Caleb wants me to record with him about it because we're both converts, and it would be interesting to discuss the divine, our kind of learning about the divine feminine that wasn't present before.
Yeah.
But like,
would this be something discussed on the last Friday of Saturday?
The last Friday of Saturday. No, I think that's going to be a round table of something. It's going to be with Ein Kath, who I think you and I fundamentally disagree with on many. He's the one who thinks that physics is metaphysics, and that like physics, there's necessary truth to be derived from the study of the physical world, or physics and stuff.
Yeah.
You can just observe change and know necessary things. That, remember when we talked about that one time?
No, yeah.
It was my discussion with him that triggered me into that thought.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Like, people don't know what physics and metaphysics are.
Yeah.
But being a convert and coming from a sect of, heretical Christianity, because I don't want to say a form of Christianity. It's not a form of Christianity.
Yeah.
In the same way that the Eastern Church is a form of Christianity. Coming from a background that didn't venerate Mary in any way, coming into the church kind of fresh in my adult life is like female saints are fascinating to me.
Yeah. That there's actually feminine figures.
They're a venerated embodiment of the feminine.
Yes.
That isn't just like a throwaway.
Right. Yeah.
Thing.
Some of them are actual doctors of the church.
I know. Was it Therese of Lisieux?
Yeah. Catherine of Siena.
Yeah.
There's also
Teresa of Avila. There's only like 4.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, but there's not that many men either.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's the thing, is that to become a doctor of the church, you have to be
contributive.
Yeah, contributive
to doctrine. And I think that like Teresa of Avila she's more profoundly fundamental to our understanding of like prayer than many of the other doctors combined.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, I think, something that the tragic thing about in like, Protestant theology, pseudo theology, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And sumumology. Like the thing is that female intuition is often on a practical level far more powerful than
the
masculine intellect for most people.
Yeah.
Women just knowing things is way more powerful.
Yeah.
Than men having to think about it.
Yeah.
And if you have a woman like a Catherine of Siena or someone having intuitions that are so powerful they change the course of the church forever.
Yeah.
That's way more significant than I won't say more significant than Aquinas. Because obviously
right, yeah.
Would you say a majority of church theology and the way it's discussed now is based on his writing? But
yes,
it's as fundamental as
the
work of, the fact that Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross are best friends.
Right, yeah.
Is far more people know who Saint Teresa is.
Yes.
Like a practical level, the intuition of a woman who's really, really correct at the right time.
Yeah.
Is a big deal.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. And it's I was raised Catholic, and so for me it was just it was always like a part of the way that I always viewed faith. But I did find that always weird when I went to that Protestant school for those 3 years, how for them it just doesn't exist any kind of it almost makes sense why feminism caught on in the Protestant world so significantly.
Of course.
I think
because women had no place.
Yeah, there's no place. And so I think because even though you would say that a lot of the feminine ideology started in France with Simone de Beauvoir, but I don't think it became what it was until it hit most of the other Western countries, until it really hit the US and England and everything. And I think a large part of it is because the idea of anything that a woman does being virtuous can't exist if there is no, like what you were saying, the divine feminine, in order for you to direct or at least have a reference to that virtue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there is no virtuous female in a Protestant world. There's only Christ. And so everybody has to just imitate Christ, whether you're a man or a woman. So there is no new Eve for anybody to imitate. And so, I do agree.
Because it is weird to me when I hear, Protestant women like my mom or whoever say something like, I'm just trying to be Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not a man.
Yes, yeah.
First of all. Women shouldn't be crucifying themselves. I mean,
right, yeah.
They should a little bit, but Mary sacrificed also.
Exactly. You have to sacrifice in a way that women sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the way that she sacrificed was pure and absolute submission to the will of God.
Yeah.
Which was, which you would say ultimately Christ did too. He sacrificed in the way, but in the
They're
way,
counterparts of the same thing.
They are, yes. But in the way that it was manifested, is one of them is in a feminine way where you're bearing that child and you're giving yourself up for that child, and while the Christ is giving himself up. And then watching him die, yes. Yeah. Those are the feminine virtues.
Yeah.
And sticking to it.
Yeah.
And I think when you eliminate it, that's why you don't have those same virtues in the Western world anymore. You don't you just have divorce. You have women who leaves a guy because, he didn't pay attention to her haircuts for 20 years. And so then she's like, oh, fuck you. You never recognized that I got a haircut. This other guy recognized I have a haircut and he makes me feel good. And so I'm going to leave you. It's because, this is what you get then. You get this world, I think, where there is no representation of the female virtues, of pure submission and sacrifice. And so, I do think that there is a correlation, I think, with all those, I guess, negative aspects of the feminine that we find in the contemporary world because of the lack of Mary.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. So women didn't just
because there's no archetypal positive.
There isn't.
There's just Eve.
Yep. It's just not a good one. Yeah.
Because Eve fucked up first.
Yeah, I know.
No, because I've heard that a lot of the time. There's always jokes about Eve is everybody compares all women to Eve.
Yeah.
Eve was the one who was deceived first and then made Adam do it. So there's that really typifies the Protestant, a lot of the Protestant
No, I think
interaction with women.
Yeah.
Is that they have to be reined in, because if not, they're just horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Because, I mean, women have no agency in neoliberal society at all.
Right. Yeah.
But they do in countries that do have their heads on straight.
I know.
Like women in African societies, they have a lot of agency.
Yeah. I think they did throughout Europe, and I think when they try to make it,
they still do in parts.
Yeah.
Less and less over time.
Yeah.
Italy's kind of falling to the neolibs.
Oh, I know.
Spain was one of the first countries to outlaw abortion or legalize abortion.
Right. Yeah.
It's
pretty bad.
Yeah. Anyway, we can be good if you're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we'll be back in the studio next week. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. So, yeah. I think this has been a pretty chaotic few months, but
yeah,
we'll figure something out. We're committed to either week. Anyway, we'll talk to you later.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.